right off the bat, I just want to say shout out to Joe Shane, shout out to Brian Dable, shout out to, Mike Kafka, Wink Martindale, shout out to, Brandon Brown, shout out to everybody that had or played a role in this draft, because this draft took some skill and it also took a little bit of luck as well. And it turned out to be probably one of the most exciting drafts that we've had in a long time for the New York Giants, man, when you really think about it. Especially with those first 3 picks, consensus would say that pretty much we got 3 first rounders in the first 3 picks, in the first three rounds. All of those guys at the peak of their portion of the draft was considered to be, or could possibly be, first round picks. And to get those 3 guys in the first 3 rounds, man, just that part of the draft alone is an A+ to me. Yes, we gave up some picks in order to move up to get certain guys, but at the end of the day, after what we did last year with 10 picks in the draft class, to come back and have, pretty much the same amount of draft picks, but, could you afford, and really how many of those guys was going to make the roster if you were, to get all of those picks or make all of those picks. So, there was one that we gave away that I wasn't happy with. I know when we traded up to get Jalen Hyatt, we did give up a 4th in order to get up there to grab him. And, around that time, pick 128. And it's funny too, because I think we traded that to the Rams, and the Rams turned around and draft Stetson Bennett. That's who they picked with pick 128. So, but there were some guys on the board at 128 that definitely would have been able to contribute to this team too. So, but that's spilled milk, and you don't want to cry over spilled milk. So let's talk about the good of this draft, and let's just start off with day one. Day one, we trade up 1 spot because rumor has it is that some other teams were trying to trade up with Jacksonville in order to get Deonte Banks, and that news got back to Joe Shane. It could have been the GM. This is why you become buddy as GMs in the league, so you can get that inside information, especially when somebody's trying to leapfrog you. And the word on the street was somebody was trying to jump into that Jacksonville Jaguars spot in order to grab Deonte Banks. And also with those wide receivers, those first 4 wide receivers being off the board, Joe Shane didn't want to take the risk, and he wanted to go ahead and get the cornerback that was on his board, and he went ahead and grabbed Deonte Banks. And just a little bit about Deonte Banks, man. I'm loving that pick. I had him and Joey Porter pretty much interchangeable as far as, the skill set. They're both taller cornerbacks, thicker cornerbacks, pause, physical, just physical guys. And but when we got closer and closer to the draft, I was putting Deonte Banks above Joey Porter. And I guess, but I would have been happy with either one. But I am happy that we did get Deonte Banks, because speed-wise, you have to give the nod to Deonte Banks, and then just the physicality at the line, the jamming, I give that also to Deonte Banks. So I'm actually just glad that we got him here. And then just thinking about him and what he can do for the team, I expect him to be the CB2, if not right away at the beginning of camp. I expect him to earn that spot very, very quickly during training camp. Only competition I'm seeing is maybe the cornerback from Detroit that we picked up, and you can see just with a lot of the guys that we picked up, even the later round picks that are cornerbacks, they're looking for the taller, longer, stronger athletes at cornerback, and that is what fits Wink's system. So for me, again, I expect him to be the CB2 by the beginning of the season. And I expect him, yes, you're going to have your rookie struggles, but I expect him, to be solid. I expect him to be solid, starting off, not a lot of struggles. Obviously, this is a tough division, and but I hope that he can get up to speed. And again, he's played against some top-notch competition. He played against guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. and stuff like that, and he was able to hold his own pretty good. So I'm just happy with the pick of Deonte Banks. And what he can do, and my expectations for him going into the season. Again, CB2 hopefully by the beginning of the season. And what does that mean for guys like Cordell Flott? And it's funny too, because you say Cordell Flott, it's moving to the slot. It rhymes, right? And that's something that really could happen, because outside of that, you're looking at some of the guys that are coming back: Darnay Holmes, Rodarius Williams, Aaron Robinson, which we really don't know what kind of Aaron Robinson we will be getting. You know, he's coming off of an ACL and MCL, so we don't know what his timetable is. Again, Darnay Holmes is good when it comes to tackling, but he shows his weakness in coverage, you know, especially him being a smaller type, you know, nickel cornerback or slot cornerback. I'm seeing what Wink Martindale wants his prototypical cornerbacks to look like, and Darnay Holmes might be phased out. Don't know, it's way too early. It's way too early, and every time you kind of count out Darnay Holmes, you know, he does just enough to show some of his value and why he should be, you know, kept on the team. So, you know, gave that an A for Deonte Banks. I was being a little critical because we did give up a 5th rounder and a 7th rounder for Deonte Banks, so I knocked it down a notch in my initial video. But that's a solid A pick, man. With the guy that you're getting, you're not going to miss out. And also, very entertaining. I loved his press conference. He seems like he's you know, it's all business. It's all business for Deonte Banks. So I appreciate the presser that they did. I appreciate his comments. He said he's here to play football. When they asked him, you know, what kind of sights do you want to see, what kind of stuff do you want to do while you're in New York, he said, I'm here to play football. And I love that reply from him. And again, so Thursday night, you know, I felt good. You know, went to sleep, woke up with some anxiety because you guys know I wanted a center. And John Michael Schmitz, actually all the centers were still on the board, but I put out a tweet early. I was like, you know, I'm still holding on to the miracle of John Michael Schmitz being there at 57. And imagine my surprise when we get to pick 57 and John Michael Schmitz is there. And I know there was a chance that it could be possibly somebody else, but when they called John Michael Schmitz's name, I screamed, man. I screamed, scared my wife, man. I screamed that loud because out of all the players in this draft, John Michael Schmitz was the guy I wanted the most for this team. I think that the center position is such a big position of need for the New York Giants. And I thought and believe still that he is the number one center in this draft, and the New York Giants were able to get him at 57. Now, the first center went off the board. That was Joe Tippmann. He went to the New York Jets. But again, if you follow me, you know how I feel about Joe Tippmann. And even though his athletic score is a lot higher than John Michael Schmitz, what John Michael Schmitz brings to the table is solid perfection almost, rep after rep. You rarely see a bad rep from John Michael Schmitz. Always having good leverage, always strong hands, always getting to where he needs, cross face, getting across the face to reach blocks, you know, getting to the second level. Everything is consistent every time you look at John Michael Schmitz. So when we got that guy, I tweeted out, I said, you know what, we got John Michael Schmitz. I don't care what happens with the rest of the draft. I'm happy. I'm good right now. And again, I feel that same way. And then, you know, I really was happy. So then after that, you know, I felt like a weight off my shoulders when we got John Michael Schmitz, man. Because again, you have a real center finally for the New York Giants, and that's just something that we've been waiting for a long time. And I'm happy. I'm so happy that we're able to, you know, get him, man. He was able to fall to us at 57, and it's funny too because I went back and forth for a long time thinking that a lot of centers wouldn't be there at 57. And outside of Joe Tippmann, all the rest of the centers were still there. And when it comes to Luke Weipler, another center prospect, he went all the way into the 6th round, man. It was a lot of centers taken before a lot of guys. Even Oluwatimi, I believe, was a 6th rounder or a 5th rounder too. So these centers fell, man. These centers fell. And shout out to my man Deuno, man, because he said it. He said these guys will fall, and they absolutely did. And again, I'm just happy that John Michael Schmitz made it to us. So after that, you know, I'm sitting there waiting for pick 89, and then we get to pick 73, and the New York Giants trade up. And I'm just sitting here like, you know, well, we already got a cornerback, we already got our center. This has to be a wide receiver at this point. And then imagine my surprise when they call Jalin Hyatt. And Jalin Hyatt was a guy that I was not really high on, because he was getting mocked to us like at pick 25. And I remember just watching I remember watching Jalin Hyatt You know, a lot of his plays, go routes. He was just getting separation. He was so wide open. And I remember watching tape on, a video that Steve Smith, Sr. put out, and he was saying that he's always wide open, and it's so true. With the way they have him, the wide receiver and Stacky, he was never getting pressed. He always got a free release. And I remember there was so many critiques, and including myself, on Jalin Hyatt's game, like, can he run the routes? And I remember right before the draft, I remember checking out Hey Rookie, that show that they have on ESPN, or I think it's ESPN. And the one clip showed Jalin Hyatt talking to a coach from another team, and he's like, what's my skill set? And the guy told him speed. He said, but I can run routes though. And I remember it almost felt like he was talking to me, because I was saying the same thing that this coach was thinking. Like, can you run routes? I know this guy's fast. And, it was a nice clip. They showed him running a couple routes. But here's my thing when it comes to Jalin Hyatt. If he really can run the routes, like the whole route tree, if he has that in his bag, or if he can get that to where it's in his bag, we just might have an actual superstar in a wide receiver. Like, we spend a lot of the not the bye week, but the trade deadline talking about trying to get T. Higgins, and who else could we trade for? Brandon Ayuk and DeAndre Hopkins and Odell Beckham. But here it is, where we have a chance to do something homegrown, a homegrown wide receiver one. And not saying that he's that day one, because I don't believe he's that day one, but the way, like, it was something about the way he said it. It seemed like he has a chip on his shoulder, because everybody's saying that, or painting a picture of him being a one route guy, and he knows it, and he's trying to, pretty much erase that, idea of him that other people have. And again, you want that type of fire in the guy, and you can't deny the speed that he has. But if he can take that, bottle that, and use that as fuel to improve his craft, and again, if he is the route runner that he says he is, and believes he is, we might have something special on our hands. And Giants fans, just be prepared for that, because again, you solidify the center spot. What that helps you to do is keep that pocket clean. And then, a guy like Jalin Hyatt, he does run those long development routes. You get that extra time. Can Daniel Jones get that ball out there to him? And if he can, again, this thing is going to be very, very special, especially with the additions that we have with Paris Campbell, Darren Waller, just Isaiah Hodgins, another year with him in the system. And again, if he continues to improve, we'll have a nice wide receiver room. And not necessarily having that wide receiver one, but just that if we can get Jalin Hyatt to be that wide receiver one, it's going to be very, very special for the New York Giants. So after that, again, we traded our 4th round for Jalin Hyatt. So we still had our 5th round pick, and also a 6th round and 2 7th round picks after that. So with the 5th round pick, we picked up running back Eric Gray out of Oklahoma. And again, I really didn't watch a lot of running backs. There were a few. I was a big fan of Dwayne McBride. Chris Rodriguez was another one, because I was looking at late day, running backs, guys that are 6th, 7th round running backs. And we picked up Eric Gray. And again, I didn't really know much about him. I did watch a little bit of Marvin Mims, because he played for Oklahoma. So I did see him, but I wasn't really paying attention to Eric Gray. But when you watch him, and I said this in the other video, he reminds me of Ahmad Bradshaw. Quicker than fast, shifty, tough, and doesn't waste any time. One cut and go. And he has really, really good vision, and you can see it just in the ways that he sets up some of his moves. Like, he is a shifty running back. And no, he's not going to take off for 60, 70 yards like a Saquon Barkley can, but he can get a 30-yard run. He can even get a 40-yard run. He can break those type of runs off, but he's going to get caught. But again, when you see him, it's something really, really special that I see. And he played for both Tennessee and Oklahoma, so he's played against top competition, and was successful in both programs. And again, this guy never fumbled. Has 0 fumbles in college football. So you want that type of ball security. And then not only that, he's also good in the receiving game. So I'm just like, how did this guy fly under my radar? I mean, I know, because like I said, I wasn't really watching running backs, but when you go back and watch him, I'm actually excited to see what this guy can do. And the one thing I'm thinking about is somebody's going to lose their spot in that running back room, and we'll see what happens. So that's good competition. So next, in the 6th round, the New York Giants picked up cornerback Trey Hawkins from Old Dominion. And again, this is the 2nd year in a row where I'm like, man, there's still players that we picked up that I really don't know anything about. And I feel a certain way because I watched a lot of tape, I watched a lot of prospects, and I went pretty far down on these lists. So Trey Hawkins, again from Old Dominion, cornerback, physical, another tall, speedy, strong cornerback. Another one right up Wink's alley. And again, I'm like, okay, this is round 6. These guys are looking to probably play special teams, probably trying to find some new gunners and things like that. But no, when you look at Trey Hawkins, again, there's some potential there. And again, obviously special teams is one thing, but there's also some potential for him to get in there and compete. Now, the room is crowded. That secondary room is crowded. And could he not even make the team? That's a possibility. But when you look at his skill set, his raw score, another guy that's 6'2", almost 6'3", almost 200 pounds, very fast, very strong for a cornerback, very physical, will come up there and hit. You think it's a solid pick, and this is a Wink pick. So Wink had his hands all over this draft for sure. And again, I'm loving it. After that, we get in the 7th round. We have 2 picks in the 7th round. And the first one is going to be Jordan Riley out of Oregon. And this guy is going to be one of your zero technique nose tackle type. Now, here's the thing. How does he fit into the equation? We just beefed up this defensive line. We do have some rotational guys. DJ Davidson is coming back from injury. How does Jordan Riley fit in? And when you look at Jordan Riley, he helps you out in the run game. He's not there for, to get sacks or anything like that, but does he have the potential? He has a pretty good skill set as well, and the guy for his size is pretty agile, shows some agility. So I like the pick. That thing has to pan out. We'll see what happens during training camp. But again, that's another guy that you're looking at that could be a very, very good get for the New York Giants. And then after that, we have the safety from Houston, Javarius Owens. And I said it before in another video that, this is that thumper of a safety. And I watched a couple breakdowns, shout out to Nick Filato, and it showed that this guy actually has some skills. Again, I think he's more of a special teams guy, but he showed some ability. They showed he has some skills. They showed he can actually help in the pass game a little bit, but his thing is, supporting the run, being that last line of defense and bringing the thunder, when he's there. So, again, all in all, I'm giving this draft an A. If you want to give it a B+, that's fine. I can see that too. But again, I think it was a very strong draft from Joe Schoen and the New York Giants. And just appreciate, the hard work that these guys put in. But I'm going to close this here, and I'm going to thank you guys for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.